Hi everyone, I'm Patty, the Chief Customer Officer at Freshworks, and today I'm here to introduce the new customer experience mandate. As we all know, we're going through some very challenging times over the last year, and a lot of things have changed in the customer experience world. And today I have with me Nicole, and we're going to have this conversation around what is the new customer experience mandate. Nicole.
Great, thanks, Patty. So I'm Nicole France. I'm Vice President and Principal Analyst at Constellation Research, where I focus on all things customer experience. And I know, Patty, this is near and dear to your heart because it's your day-to-day job as well. So I think we're going to have a really good conversation about this. And I'd like to kick us off by just asking the first question that I know is really on everybody's minds. We've seen an awful lot of change over the last 8 or 9 months. And I think one of the big things that has become very clear is the critical importance of customer service for just about every business out there. So I guess the question to start with is, what really has changed in the course of the pandemic? What are the things that we're seeing, and what kinds of changes does that portend for the future too?
That's a really good question, because if you really see what happened with COVID and how businesses had to change, customer service came to the forefront of every business. They were the first line of offense and defense. I would say that every individual in every organization had to, in some sort of way, play the part of being a customer service agent, because organizations weren't prepared for it, right? And so really, from my perspective, I look at this and say, this is a pivotal time. It is an inflection point for how customer service is being re-engineered, as we go into the next decade, more than it's ever been in the past 2 decades.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, we certainly saw examples of a kind of all hands to the pump kind of scenario where even senior executives who hadn't ever gotten near the contact center were actually getting roped into answering first-line customer inquiries because there just wasn't enough bandwidth to go around, and there was a massive influx. I mean, think about travel and transportation, for example. Especially in those early days, everybody had to get involved, and I think it gave a totally different perspective to a lot of senior executives of what role customer service really plays.
And I've always believed that you should put every employee through customer service to get a true experience of what your customers are saying about you. And I think over the last year, we got to experience that. Volumes were up, volumes were up significantly. People didn't know how to deal with it. And, the traditional channels weren't as effective because employees were remote. And so here we saw a massive engineering effort by IT teams and organizations trying to understand how to run customer service in this remote employee environment, where all your agents are remote. They have to have access to cloud-based systems on one end. On the other hand, you saw this whole notion of contactless service. I think contactless service is the new mantra, if you will, right? The experience I'll give you is when I go to a restaurant now. Of course, a lot of us still do, because we ought to keep our local businesses happy and running, because you go there today, the experiences are from, you get a QR code, you put it on, so the ability to have your mobile, open up a mobile camera, open up a website and give you a menu, and also be able to place an order straight out there. So the only thing a restaurant's doing is delivering the food to you and, in a packet and go back. Is enabling a new set of scenarios. And this is not only happening to a restaurant type of business, but most physical stores where you have contactless delivery had to be enabled. And so this has been the single biggest period of digital transformation. Digital transformation in the past was really around, hey, how do I take the physical touch points and provide a handoff seamlessly to digital touch points and vice versa? Whereas in today's world, it's all about digital first, which is about what are your mobile experience, what are your web experiences, how do we make these two work well together, and how do we make the customer experience absolutely seamless so that they don't have to really start thinking about having to meet a person to really get customer service delivered. So that was, and the third is the emergence of new channels. If you really see in the new digital experience world that we're seeing with what I call digital CX, SMS and Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp. And these new mediums have become prominent because customers are concerned about what is happening, where's my order, what's the update. And so instead of having to go to a web client and trying to see this, they want to see businesses actually get the information delivered to them rather than having to go to some place to find out what that information is. And so the emergence of these channels are really creating this whole notion of a new customer CX platform, which really has chat and SMS and WhatsApp and all of these new channels, along with a ticketing system becoming the core of the new. If I were to start a new business, that's how I would think about the new digital customer experience.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it's interesting because it's on one side, the change in customer expectations, and you say it's partly contactless for sure. It's also the idea that things are going to happen quickly. You're going to be able to get answers. You're going to be able to get what you need really rapidly, regardless of the channel, although they're probably all some version of a digital channel. Maybe you call, maybe you don't. And at the same time, this really significant need for companies to change the tools that they're using. And we certainly have seen the move to cloud contact center has been rapid and extreme, because any company that wasn't doing that before, I think really found just how difficult it was to support remote agents who were not working in a physical contact center. So that's been a big one.
I think the point that you said, which is around a bots first approach. Bots have become the first line of defense, and the first line of customer engagement. And that is interesting because, in the past you would have said, hey, I don't know if I want to talk to a bot as the first person that I talk to in a brand, but bots have to represent brand experiences. Bots are the ones that are answering the simple, how do I, where do I questions, but they're also doing pretty complex things like, refunds and exchanges and change orders. And businesses are transforming themselves to say, how do I use the latest of AI and intelligent automation and process automation and RPA to bring together experience so that customer experiences can become better.
At least that was your dog and not my dog this time, Patty. Mine might come in later. It is really actually fascinating, this point, because one of the things that I know you and I have in common is that we both feel very strongly that good customer experience is about actually creating that human connection. It's about feeling like you're getting personal care and personal attention, and it's not just a sort of automated void on the other side. Counterintuitively, bots and automation are actually helping to create that scenario. I've got my own example. I live on an island. I have a car on the mainland, and we hadn't used the car in 3 months. And we had a trip we were going to drive. And luckily, we decided to get the car a day early. And it was a good thing because the battery was completely flat from not having driven the car for 3 months. So I had to call AAA, the roadside assistance service, in order to have them send someone out to give us a charge on the battery so we could start the car. And I called. And what was really interesting and great, as far as I was concerned as a customer, is they said you can wait and you can hold in line to speak to an agent, or you can follow this link that we're texting you right now, and you can arrange whatever service you need. And there was a pre-selected menu of items you could choose from directly from our bot. And so I did. And on the bot, before I would have gotten to an agent, I was able to say, I need a jump, my battery is dead, here's where I am. And the call went out to the local technician. I could see that the call had been received. I could see that there was somebody who was on their way to our parking lot to give us a jump on the car. The guy came really quickly. Yeah, it was great. He was impeccable. He had his mask on. He stayed his distance, and we were up and ready to go in far less time than it would have taken if we'd gone the traditional route of staying on the phone. And it made me actually like AAA even better than I already do, because it got me what I needed faster and more effectively. So it's a big win when you can get it right.
That's awesome. That's awesome. No, I think just to summarize, I think there are 3 or 4 things that we talked about, but reality is, contactless service is becoming like the first imperative. The fact that, digital shift to digital channels is becoming more pervasive than ever before. Automation first approach is becoming a clear imperative for businesses. And emergence of SMS and business WhatsApp and new channels is becoming critical for businesses to actually start thinking about what those expectations are changing in today's world. So great examples. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, and exciting moves. And I think what you're pointing to here is really the next big question, which is how much of this stuff is related to the pandemic situation we find ourselves in, and what really is going to stick around for the long term. And I'm inferring a little bit here, Patty, but I'm guessing that we have a similar view, which is an awful lot of this stuff really is here to stay.
This is absolutely here to stay. I think some of these changes are so permanent that you're going to see that businesses will transform themselves to be able to deliver these new superior customer experiences with a automation, with a bot first approach. That is going to be the new normal, number one. Number two, I think as a consumer, your expectations are also going to are changing. You're already in the new digital world with all the new social media tools you use. You'd rather be, instead of talking to an agent, ask the question and expect the answer to come to you, and make that a synchronous, asynchronous engagement that really fits your lifestyle. You're cooking a meal, you've thrown something in the oven, you ask a question, you're not expecting that the agent's not expecting that you're there all the time. The agent's expecting that, hey, you're probably going to come back, you'll ask a question, and you have the tolerance enough to say, hey, it's going to be a minute or two, and they're going to respond back to me. And so some of these things have become permanent. And I do think that they also are superior customer experiences. It reduces the cost of delivering these services. And I think that this is a great new thing for the new CX mandate that's really taking place right now.
Yeah, I agree. And so customer expectations aren't going to reverse themselves. Neither are employee expectations either. So I think certainly we talk about this hybrid work model where there is the option, even in CS, which has not traditionally been a big supporter of remote working, that people will be able to work remotely longer term or permanently as well. And it's interesting because I would even go so far as to say, we're starting to see a kind of gig economy opportunity emerge in customer service. And I actually was talking recently to a new startup that is doing exactly that. They've created a platform to connect customer service organizations with customer service agents who particularly are experts in certain areas and might actually be working across a number of different brands or different customers, but they're effectively working based on the number of queries that they answer. And it's just at the very beginning stages, but I think we're going to see some of these things become a lot more prominent, especially as we deal with the fact that, not everybody's equally good over all channels. And somebody who's really great on the phone might not be all that great through a chat channel of some kind. And so it's partly a question of subject matter expertise. It's partly a question of style. And it is really partly a question of channel, how we match up the most effective respondent to the customer's question.
I think it's a great point. Like I think of, relating it to my own life. My kids don't ever, if I call them, they never barely pick up the phone. If you look at their phone time on my bill, I can barely see the number of talk hours versus just the amount of messaging, instant messaging that they do. The new economy is going to enable that you have to be able to onboard the gig workers. And these are folks who basically are used to these new channels. The new world of work also means that you're going to have a truly hybrid environment, right? Some folks who are there 100% at workplace, some 50, some 25%, but I'm highly unlikely that it's going to be 100%, workplace environment, because, you're seeing that, productivity is high and you're still being able to deliver a high level of service without really moving to the old model where your infrastructure costs are so high. So I think there's clearly some advantages that we are seeing with this new workplace. Although it can be equally challenging because you now have to onboard all of these employees, whether it's the new CS agent that you onboard, how do you do them in a remote environment? How do you use, training besides just what's video, but also like using AI to enable them to learn faster so that they can respond back to customers. So very interesting times as we look at what's going to change with respect, both the internal workplace as well as what we work, how we use new transformations in technology to deliver to customer expectations.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. There's a lot of talk in the technology industry about the future of work, but the thing that always really annoys me is that a lot of the discussion just sort of assumes all work is the same. And of course it's not. And so where I think we're getting to is the point that you made earlier about new technology platforms that are actually very much designed for specific kinds of work, like customer service, and that are really creating that kind of work environment that make it very easy and intuitive for people to do their jobs effectively, whether they're new to an organization or whether they're experts and have been around for a long time. All of these things are helping them make the right decisions, make the right thing to do, the easy thing to do, and ultimately improving customer experience and employee experience at the same time. There's another aspect of this that I find really interesting too, and this is one of those longer term changes that I think we're really starting to see happen and in an accelerated way as a result of the current situation, which is the lines are really blurring between what used to be some very distinct customer facing organizations, namely marketing, sales, and customer service. And it's interesting because, to use another of my own recent experiences, especially that boundary between what's sales and what's customer service, or what's customer service and what's marketing, is getting particularly blurry because good customer support staff, good agents, are really good at doing multiple things at once. And I bought some window shades for my house because we are doing a perpetually long list of projects. And since we're here all the time, they are much higher priority than they used to be. But I bought some new window shades and I couldn't have a designer come to my house. And so I had a bunch of questions that I really wanted to have answered about the products before I clicked buy on my cart. And it was great because I was able to do this over chat with an agent. So I didn't have to pick up the phone again because I could do it while I was working at the same time. Don't tell anybody. But I got the information I needed. I got it really quickly. And I actually had a side chat with the person that was helping me as well. And I asked, hey, what's your experience? How is working from home? And she said, yeah, it's great. I love it. This is fantastic. I can still help my customers and I can do it from home. So these things are all, I think, really pushing the boundaries. And I think we're starting to see not just different ways of working, different tools to support that, but a fundamental questioning about what it is that we expect people in those roles to do. What is the point of those jobs? And how can we think of it more from the perspective of what customers are expecting and what customers would prefer in order to meet those needs more effectively, despite the fact that it doesn't necessarily fit into a traditional departmental box on the org chart.
No, it's a great point. I do think that, customer service agents are in some ways and subtly your best salespeople, because they build the trust, they have the empathy for the customer. And if they solve a problem, the likelihood that, you listen to a customer service agent says, I think this product is better suited for you because of ABC reasons, you're more likely to buy that product. And so that brings you to the next question, which is what's really happening in terms of the shift of customer service if you really look at the customer service department, what is really happening in that? And I think there's a couple of things that really strike me when I think about what that is, right? The first thing is, the metrics have changed. The old metrics used to really be around, hey, what is your average handle time and what is your first contact resolution? Now they're moving to this whole notion of zero contact resolution. And the point of zero contact resolution is the number of cases I can solve without touching an agent, right? So that's kind of one of the new metrics that people are really starting to think about, saying, I need to be able to have a way to do this without having to touch, solve queries for my customers without having to have them reach out to us, right? And so that's why automation and bots really on the forefront are important. The second part, like you said, if the lines are blurred, the question could be about, hey, this product, I need this is not working, or, I would like a replacement, versus, by the way, I need an add-on clip to my shoe for my biking shoe. How can I order that? And can I order that from you, right? So I think those lines between sales and marketing are completely blurring. And so in the old days where you thought of customer service as a pure cost center, now in the eyes of business leaders, it's right in the forefront, because boards and leadership teams are worried about customer retention and customer satisfaction, especially as through the pandemic, people have seen, revenues go down. And so with that, I think this is a great opportunity to surface how in your new digital transformation strategy, you stitch the whole experience in which customer service can play a bigger role than just servicing a customer passively. In the old days, the analogy of customer service used to be, you're a goalkeeper, whether it's in football or hockey, you don't know, you're trying to figure out which way the puck's going to come or which way the ball's going to come. And, all you're doing is defending. And, but in the new world, it's really about, proactivity in the way you can, and, anticipate customer needs, use your empathy and connection to be able to really service the customer that goes beyond just retaining. It can go into, advocacy and helping your customers grow. And I think that's what I feel is from a pure shift. I can see a lot of that shift really happening on both the metric side as well as how customer service departments are viewed.
I think you're right. We see the same thing. And I certainly am hearing a lot more conversation that's looking at how customer service is actually a huge asset when it comes to building and deepening customer relationships as opposed to just, kind of a necessary investment, as you say. And certainly the shift away from being a cost center to one that's really more of an investment approach that is measured beyond just the customer service organization and really is in things like customer lifetime value, for example, advocacy, loyalty. And those are complex things to tie together, but we're increasingly able to do that. And partly because, let's face it, customer service has always been a huge source of insights from customers because you get it verbatim and often unprompted. And that's one of the areas that I think, because of the technology tools that are increasingly sophisticated, we really can understand and observe and apply into other parts of our organizations as well, whether it's product development or sales or marketing. All of these things actually benefit from the insights that derive actually from customer service. And that's a big step. And I think that kind of points to me, the most exciting question, which is hopefully an exciting one for everyone who's listening to our conversation today as well, which is what really are the prospects? What is the future opportunity for customer service and customer experience leaders? And you've got a whole lot of this to talk about from firsthand experience.
Yeah. No, I think it's a very good question because, like I said, this is a pivotal time and probably one of the most strategic inflection points in a customer service leader's life, because you've never had that attention span. You're in the spotlight. You've basically been brought into leadership meetings saying, hey, what are customers talking about us? What are they saying? What's going on with churn? What's going on with retention? And so here you are. And historically, all customer service reviews have been post-mortem. What happened when we lost customers? What happened when a defect caused an increase in customer service requests? To now saying, hey, how can we anticipate and understand where problems are going to happen? And so from a leader's perspective, this is the chance and the opportunity as you as customer experience leaders to go on the forefront and say, how do I help redesign the business's digital transformation strategy? And this is really the opportunity because you have the eyes and the ears of the management and your leadership and the boards who are basically looking to you and say, how are you going to redefine the customer experience? How do you reduce the customer effort? How are we going to increase our advocacy and NPS scores across every element of our product? And I think that's where I feel this is an opportunity for leaders to step up, really think about what their current organization design is, build it for a new digital era, for the new millennial customers and millennial employees. Those are the types of things where I do believe that you got to really go think and say, what kind of a company can I partner with that really helps me accomplish those goals, helps me understand what is today and where do I need to go tomorrow to enable a new era of digital transformation and make you the forefront of that in such a way that your plans can make your organization successful, as well as really extend your ambitions to what you are doing today to learning new things in this world.
It's interesting, Patty, because I think that in a lot of ways we're talking about things coming full circle here. Because I remember, and I'm dating myself tremendously, but when I was at my university's job fair, when I was about to graduate, I remember going around and looking at the different companies that were there, and they were essentially all recruiting for their management training program as becoming future executives. And what has stayed with me is that one of those in particular was a very large insurance company. And their expectation was that if you wanted to be a senior executive in that business, you absolutely had to start in customer service. And the reason is that that was the place where you got the most exposure to the widest range of customers and customer challenges and customer feeling and belief and views and all of the things that really give you that absolutely critical, really innate sense of what matters to customers. And it's interesting because I think what you're talking about is what we're both seeing, which is actually businesses are finally recognizing again the extreme value of the insights and the knowledge that come from customer service organizations and individual conversations, but particularly the knowledge and insights and the expertise that CS leaders have and can contribute to the rest of the business. And I think if you're going to be a customer-centric organization, why not start with people whose whole business is really focusing on the customer?
I think that's a great segue. I'll give you a personal example. When I took this job as the chief customer officer, I thought about like, what do I do? And I actually thought like the simplest way to describe is I have like 6 different templates of saying sorry. You know, whether it was like, hey, somebody messaged me on LinkedIn or sent me a Facebook Messenger, or it came as a ticket, or I was on a phone call. That has definitely changed, you know, to now, you know, we have a very sophisticated tool called Fresh Success, which gives me the health and the scorecard of a customer. I know exactly the ones that are likely to churn, and you know, I'm able to use my team and direct them towards being proactive in being able to solve those problems, right? And I think rather than having it come to you, you know, you can take that first step and really find ways using new forms of digital tools today that are available to really take that giant leap forward and to take your organization and your careers forward. Because I think that, you know, there is a great opportunity for the customer service leaders and customer experience leaders to go beyond the realm of just customer expectations and service towards really enhancing customers' experiences and learning more about things that we can do in our business together.
Yeah, absolutely. That might have to be our next conversation, Patty. Where
yes.
we talk more about who some of those people are and how it's happening. Well, thank you so much. I think this has been a lot of fun for me. I hope it has been for our audience as well.
Same here. Thank you very much, Nicole. I mean, it was great talking, as well as you know, learning from your experiences, and look forward to doing this again.